years ahead of those guys. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
What do you think of Ilia?
I'm like 20 years. He's a little too. Like I'm years ahead of them fools. Better men had better fights, and they're like, he sucks. He just said I sucked or something like that. I'm
Yeah.
like, bro, you suck. He was saying some dumb. I had beat up Jake Paul in boxing, like all cool, like he sucked and shit. And I'm like, and I was taking offense, like, oh, so you just said like he sucks, I'll just beat it up. I'm like, you want to beat the boy. And then I like, so I just like, this was a dumbass. Just because of how he was talking all cocky and shit. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're 4 feet tall. And then he posted something about me again. I'm like, bro, I'll slap the out of you. It's a new day and age where there's a bunch of run around and then be slapped. Yeah, I don't like him.
Yeah, no, I got.
So Nate Diaz flipped the script on everybody, guys. He may have just accidentally exposed one of the biggest problems lingering in the MMA today. And with MMA legends trying to stay relevant in today's world of combat sports, especially MMA and the UFC. Now, this week, Nate Diaz fired shots at Ilia Topuria online, and the reaction from fans was brutal. Nonetheless, guys, he was on the Ariel Helwani show. Honestly, guys, this story is way bigger than just trash talk. There's something going on right now. And, you know, some can say they can equate it to like star power, perhaps maybe leverage. But what's essentially happening is the UFC is transitioning into a whole new era right now, a completely new era, and we're all coming along for the ride. There's so much going on, so much to unpack here, guys. Let me share with you what's happening. Welcome back, guys. Welcome to Duality 7X. I'm your host, Shiraz. Nate Diaz went on X and posted Topuria's dumb ASS. I'll have you eating through a straw in just a month. Like, that's some pretty harsh comments, guys. Nobody says that to one another. Now, look, in 2016, Nate Diaz saying that, you know, right after UFC 196, people probably take that very seriously. But that's 2016. But the reaction online right now tells you everything about where both the fighters currently are in the sport and the leverage that the fans are starting to get as well too, because fans immediately push back. Now with social media, it's not just all about the fighters. I mean, the fans have a voice as well. And one fan wrote, "He'd sleep you, though, bruh." Then another one said that, "Nah, bro, Ilia's catching strays for no reason." Right? Now, this could be some of the harshest, but there was one in particular that kind of caught my attention, and somebody said, "Hey, Nate, can you refund me $34,700 I lost betting on you to beat Jake Paul, please?" That's pretty harsh. And that's the reality, guys. I mean, that one was pretty cold, but you know what? I feel for the guy, seriously. But look, this is where the situation kind of takes a turn for the worst. Uh, I don't know if you guys saw the whole video. I gave you guys a random clip of what happened, but Nate Diaz isn't just randomly talking. You know, he's kind of campaigning, right? I mean, he's made a lot of money as well too, right? And so he knows there's life after fighting. He's still fighting though. But the real story here is like for months now, Nate has been teasing a return to MMA, and recently he floated that idea of fighting the winner of the BMF title fight between Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira at UFC 326. This happened. Nate actually said that he wants in. He wants to fight for that title. And he also called out, in the process of doing so, he also called out the notorious one, Conor McGregor. He called out Dustin Poirier. He called out Mike Perry. And he even called out George Masvidal. Again. and now, Ilia Topuria. So, I mean, he's just going after as many people as he can. And look, just notice a pattern here with Nate, right? I mean, every single name attached to Nate right now has either massive commercial hype, value, unfinished history, perhaps, or some kind of major viral potential. And that's not accidental, guys, because Nate's made a ton of money post UFC career, and he understands the fight game, but more importantly, he understands the marketing, the hype, the fight business, what's happening in today's fight business, social media, all that, and how all that kind of intertwines with one another. And he also understands the other fighters that he called out, especially with the UFC history. I mean, this guy built a career off timing, leverage, and more importantly, a connection, right? So look, whether people like it or not, I mean, he helped create the modern money fight era in MMA. Very, very successful. His ability to market himself and hype up a fight, I mean, that's crazy, right? I mean, look, before fighters would openly chase that legacy money crossover fight, they'd go to their promoters, they'd beg for a fight. I mean, these days it's completely different. I mean, Nate was already doing that when fighters are doing that, right? I mean, so the only difference is right now, the one major difference is this is a lot different compared to that whole McGregor era, right? The UFC doesn't actually need the fighters as much as they need the UFC, especially Nate Diaz. They don't need Nate Diaz like how they used to rely and need Nate Diaz. And that, my friends, changes everything because I mean, if you guys think about it, I mean, during the Conor boom, Nate was Nate was just one of a handful of fighters who could genuinely move numbers without a title. And today the UFC has a lot of younger stars, like up and coming stars, a lot of great fighters. They've got a lot that are already lined up. So, and I mean, Ilia Topuria is a prime example of that, a very clear example of that shift. For Nate to call out probably one of the most scariest fighters right now in the UFC, that's crazy. I mean, just look at Topuria's rise, right? I mean, that's exactly the type of superstar model that the UFC wants moving forward. He's young, he's energetic, he's pragmatic. He definitely brings a lot of attention, and he's a champion. But that unfinished aura, that violence, I mean, Nate's got a lot of confidence in himself, right? I mean, he's got personality, he's got international marketability, you know, but Topuria has all of that and more, and he's an active fighter, right? So, I mean, moving up from featherweight, just remember, like when Topuria knocked out Charles Oliveira in the first round at UFC 317, that happened in June last year to become the undisputed lightweight champion of the world. And then just like that, everybody starts calling out Topuria, right? And I mean, that changed the entire light division overnight. There was a lot of chaos. There was a lot of turmoil. He's been going through some personal things as of late, so the division was in somewhat peril. But I mean, there's a lot of legal issues happening in Spain. I mean, look, that's when the UFC introduced the interim lightweight title, where Justin Gaethje was pinned against Paddy the Baddy Pimblett. Justin Gaethje ended up winning. That was at UFC 324 earlier this year, back in January. And now Gaethje wants Ilia Topuria. Now, look, the UFC's priority, I don't care what anyone says, but the UFC's priority is simple. All right, they want a unification fight. I mean, that's where the fight is headed. There's a lot of value to that. I mean, this is like that's the fight with like title implications and I mean, just think about it, guys. Just think about it for a second. That fight will help build the UFC's next generation, and that, my friends, that's where we cue in Nate Diaz, because that's where Nate Diaz is trying to run with his career right now. He wants a piece of the pie, and like it or not, you can't just shut him out. I mean, the UFC's changed. It has changed. I mean, yeah, a few years ago, veterans like Nate, they controlled the conversation, the narrative, the leverage. But now the promotion is investing heavily into younger champions like Ilia, guys who can carry the company globally over the next decade. And so when I talked about Ilia Topuria, he checks off all those boxes, guys. Right? I mean, just look at the Spanish market. He's got that. He's got the Georgian fan base, right? He's got highlight reel knockouts. He's confident. confident in himself in his fight game. He's got championship cred. You know, I mean, the guy knows how to carry himself. He's a superstar, and the UFC loves it. He's a shining example of what the UFC wants and needs and wants to move forward with. And then he got Nate Diaz, who's almost kind of operating like an older independent contractor. I mean, at this point, that's kind of what he is. I mean, he's still a massive draw. He's still a massive name. He's still culturally relevant. And perhaps maybe, he could very well be one of the biggest personalities in combat sports right now because he's still out there. He's still kind of fighting, but at a slower pace than these other guys. So he may not be in the central cog of the UFC, but he's still doing his thing out there. And honestly, that's why call outs, especially from him, really matter because they start to plant seeds in people's brains and then people start to talk and discussions are created. Next thing you know, you got a rivalry. And then, I mean, that is brilliant on his on his strategy because that creates discussion. And it allows people to talk about Nate Diaz in the same breath as Ilia Topuria, another aging superstar, Conor McGregor, and then Dustin Poirier, Masvidal. I mean, even the White House card, why not? You could bring that into play as well too, right? And I mean, guys, like honestly, suddenly he becomes very, very impossible to ignore. So it's going to be very interesting to see kind of what happens. I mean, already this guy brings a lot of leverage to the game and to combat sports. I mean, hence there's a reason why he's on MVP promotions. Jake Paul sees it. He knows exactly what he's looking for. And he sees it in Nate Diaz. That's why Nate Diaz is there. I mean, and then you got the UFC White House card. It keeps creeping up in conversations. Conor McGregor was on Fox. I did a video yesterday on this, and he's like, yeah, signed, sealed, delivered. You know, Conor McGregor is going to be on the White House card. Well, look, Nate Diaz wants it just as bad. And people have actually floated the idea of McGregor versus Diaz 3 headlining that event. I mean, whether it's going to, I mean, you got Alex Pereira and Cyril Gahn, but I mean, I don't know if it's going to headline it. But from a business standpoint, guys, I mean, that fight, even if it's on the card, the main card, it's going to headline. I mean, it's going to print money. All right. And if both of these guys are technically kind of past their peak athletically, the history alone is going to sell the tickets for these guys. And then whoever comes into the cage stronger, badder is going to win, right? But then that's another problem that the UFC is going to have to contend with because now they're going to have to sign these guys to contracts, right? And so how do you balance like nostalgic fights like what we want to see with like, you know, aging superstars, but guys who are relevant and still are a big draw today? How do you do that? Like I don't even know what happens behind the scenes to be able to kind of help facilitate or coordinate these type of events, right? Because do you give the spotlight to guys like Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor, like legends like them? Or do you save some of that for your up-and-coming rising superstars like guys like Ilia Topuria? Even Paddy Pimblett. I mean, a lot of these younger guys, you know, they're coming up. I mean, everyone's jostling for a piece of that real estate. And that real estate is very, very important. The last thing they want to do is to give it away to somebody who's already been there, done that. But do you give it to somebody, just anybody? No. I mean, the UFC is smart as well too, right? And so look, eventually we're going to move past McGregor-Diaz era completely. But is there a possibility of one more fight? Because that transition is already happening. And honestly, the fan reaction to Nate's comments as of recent, they kind of proved it. Because people are still chiming in. He's obviously still relevant. I mean, 10 years ago, people wouldn't, like the fans would have instantly sided with Nate Diaz, regardless whether he was right or wrong. But now, people are calling him out because people realize that they actually have a lot more trust in Ilia Topuria's fighting capabilities than they do with Nate. So that in itself is a massive shift in the MMA culture. Things are evolving, things are changing. It is what it is, guys. Now, that doesn't mean, like in my opinion, it doesn't mean that Nate can't draw in a big crowd. He totally can. He's going to sell a lot of tickets. But if Nate fought, now forget about Nate fighting Ilia Topuria, but if he fought Conor McGregor tomorrow, it would be huge. It would be massive. People would watch it. If Nate fought Masvidal, people would watch it. I don't know about Dustin Poirier. I mean, yeah, people will watch it either way because fans would definitely like to watch it from a nostalgic perspective. But I mean, that fight fell apart back in UFC 230. But the commercial value of having those two guys fight is still there, right? So yeah, I mean, the dynamics have changed, the business has changed, fans are changing. As I said, the sport is evolving, it's growing. So are the fans, so are the people, so are the fighters. I mean, and that's the real underneath truth of all this. So at the end of the day, I mean, if that fight happens, fantastic. Don't hold your breath. But I mean, Nate can go on and start insulting more and more people. I mean, if that's what he wants to do, I mean, this is an older generation of the UFC trying to stay relevant. I mean, right now, all they can do to remain the center of conversation and discussion is to just keep calling out names. But the reality is the sport, whether you like it or not, is going to continue to gravitate towards younger names, and that's the business of combat sports today, guys. I mean, nobody wants to see aging fighters. Like, look, Tyson is still relevant, right? But he's not going to be the main draw. Like, I mean, it's I mean, we've seen it, been there, done it, right? And look, one loss, guys, one loss can change everything. One injury can change everything. One new superstar could come up and change everything, right? So, again, everyone's jostling for that little piece of real estate. Do you give it to somebody who's been there, done it, or do you give it to somebody who's deserving, active, and up and coming? The UFC knows where they're headed. They're leaning more towards a younger crowd. And look, while Nate Diaz, not to undermine his efforts, I mean, he is definitely one of the last of the remaining stars from a completely different era of UFC, but definitely holds some relevance. A clash between him and McGregor would definitely be huge, make it very, very interesting because whether fans love Nate or not, I mean, it's irrelevant. People have to understand that these guys can still put on a show. All right. And remember what I always tell you guys, attention equals currency. And this week, Nate had enough relevance to be on the Ariel Helwani show and talking about calling out guys like Ilia Topuria to the point where people are calling out Nate and actually chiming in on that discussion. So when people start to chime in on what you say to them or what you're saying, that means people are listening. And when people are listening, that means people think that you're of relevance for them to be able to comment on what you're saying, what you're doing. So that in itself is very interesting. I'm excited to see where this goes. I mean, Nate Diaz has a big opportunity in front of him this weekend. He's going to be fighting on the MVP promotions card. You got Ronda Rousey, who's going to be headlining against Gina Carano. But then Nate Diaz versus Mike Perry, guys, that's a thing. That's happening. That is happening. So if Nate Diaz can pull off this win and pull it off in grand fashion, I mean, if he could do a statement win, then that's going to change the entire narrative and conversation. And just maybe, we might actually see Nate Diaz taking on somebody else. And maybe this time in a UFC octagon. And it could very well be the notorious one himself, Conor McGregor. Anyways, guys, I'm just planting seeds. It's all speculation. Nothing's for certain. If you guys enjoyed this discussion about Nate Diaz, Ilia Topuria, Conor McGregor, please smash a like and subscribe. Hit the notifications so you guys never miss a beat. And if you want to support our channel, there's many ways to do it. You can go to our store. You can purchase a shirt, like a nice tee. Beautiful logos. They're really nice. Or you could even sign up for like a membership. Or you could even do a little donation by hitting the thanks button. Whatever you're comfortable with, guys, we really appreciate you. Thank you so much for being members and for being a part of our grassroots, Duality 7X colony. So thank you guys for that. And before we let you go, YouTube would like you to watch one of these two videos. They're both absolutely fantastic. So pick your choice, watch them both if you ask me. Again, the pleasure was all mine to be here. I look forward to catching you guys in tomorrow's video.